So good afternoon, East Coasters. I'm Allison Yee, the founder and CEO of Up Next and the Retail Playground. I'm thrilled to welcome you all today for this very special session with Alessandra Pollina, who's joining us as the founder and CEO of Quotable Media Co. And I was thinking about how I first connected with you, Alessandra, and it was, I'm not quite sure how many years ago, but it was at a yoga and lunch event in Cambridge, I think Harvard Square, Life Alive. And you were just so easy to talk to. Like we instantly connected, and our paths have crossed a lot of different ways since then, which is really wonderful. And I love to see all that you're up to. And you're definitely one of those people who has just gone after so many different types of connected opportunities and made them happen. And I really appreciate that about you. You have your PR agency, you have different PR coaching programs, you have a magazine, which I have right here, and it's absolutely beautiful. You have a female founders meetup around Boston, and I think most recently you opened a co-working space. Is that right?
Yes, that's true.
So truly phenomenal. You have found ways to really connect with so many different people and importantly bring visibility to them. We've worked together in some PR capacities. You've got sort of connections and ideas that really resonate. And so I'm going to stop talking because I'm so excited to have you sharing your knowledge with us today. Alessandra has a presentation prepared and is going to leave plenty of time for Q&A, but if you have a burning question, please drop it in the chat. Kristen is moderating. We'll make sure that we get to everything. And we also will have materials to send after. We'll send the recording. If you miss any portion of it, you can always refer back. And this just in, Alessandra has offered to do a complimentary half-hour strategy session with any of you who'd be interested to have one-on-one time with her, which can I do that? Because it sounds amazing. Um, so without further ado, thank you so much for being here. Let's take it away.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm super excited to be here because yeah, I mean I do all the things and it's because I care so much about making people be seen. Like I've met so many different business owners and businesses over the years and I'm always just like, how can we get you out there more? Like it's so important to get in front of more people and to expand your visibility when you're trying to build a business. Like that is like the thing you need to do. And I just find people don't always know how to do it or they feel stuck. And that's one reason too that I like wanted to offer the strategy session because after this, like I know sometimes it brings up even more questions like once you learn more about this stuff and you're like, yeah, but like how should I actually do this? And this presentation is so actionable. I think that you guys are gonna like you really are gonna have like a set plan of what to do after this. But if there's more questions or you want to go a little deeper, take it a little farther, just have me, talk to you more specifically. That's what we can do. So hang on, I need to share my screen. I already pulled up the presentation. I'm also curious though to hear what people's businesses are. I know there was like one or two dropped in the chat and I might not see the chat now that I pull this up. So if anyone wants to call out really quickly and just say like what kind of business you have, um, it's helpful for me to keep a sense of that like as we're going through this because I can like pull examples or, try to tailor what we're talking about as much to you as possible. If anyone's comfortable just calling out what kind of brand you have.
I
Don't be
have,
shy,
I'm,
drop it in the chat or yes, thank you.
yeah, I'm Linda Callanian. I have an upcycled fashion brand.
Any others?
Awesome. Hi, I'm Heather Caldwell, and I have a product-based business creating papers like gift wrap, cards, etc., from images in my antique ephemera collection.
Awesome.
And hi, I'm Bonnie. I don't know if you can see me or not. I'm on my phone. And I have an organic skincare line. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I think I see a
We
few.
also have a couple
Yeah.
in the
Oh,
chat.
here. Sorry. I'll jump in. I'm Caroline. I have a business called Atlantic Soap Company. And I make small batch bar soaps using seawater as well as candles. And I've branched out into a couple other sort of skin and lip care items as well.
thing.
And then the
And then
chat, we have Smita Netra, who has a textile business for home linens and home decor products, and Yvonne, who has a sustainable children's clothing brand. And I think Julie is on here, who also has a sustainable fashion brand. I have the correct
okay.
Julie.
Well, if there's any others, feel free to let me know, but that's helpful to just have a sense of like who we are and what you guys are really working with here. So yeah, let's talk about it. Stop being the best kept secret. Um, the visibility playbook for retail brands. I think I have a couple of kind of backgroundy things just on what we're going to be talking about. And also we can have time at the end to chat more and we can go into anything in any way more that you guys want, whatever's gonna be the most useful. I want this to be so useful and helpful to you. But yeah, like as I was mentioning before, I just find that visibility is one of the most important things when it comes to a brand being able to stick around for a long time. And I know how much you put into building a brand and how much you put into a company when you're starting a company. Like it is everything. It is a lot. I've done it too. And I just always want to help in any way that I possibly can to make it be more successful for you, to make it last longer, to be something that has that longevity, has that the success that you need for it to be a lasting brand and to be able to support you as your business and all of those things. So I find that, you know, without consistently getting in front of new people or consistently getting in front of the people who are buying from you or taking part in what you have to offer, you know, that's what you need in order to have long-term success. And I've seen too many brands come and go because of that very reason, just not being able to get in front of enough people, not being able to build their customer base, not being able to create consistent sales. And we can change that. We can fix that by making sure we're having a strategic visibility plan. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And the main takeaways that we're going to make sure that we all feel really comfortable with today. And like you literally will leave with these things in your hand, crafting your messaging and how to position yourself for visibility and creating your actual visibility plan. I have templates too for a media kit, a template for a PR planner. So you will have a sense of like, okay, this month, here are the things I'm going to do to get myself out there. And looking ahead the next couple months, here's what I'm going to do. Because again, it is a long game here. It's consistency over time. So that's one thing I want you to kind of leave with a sense of. And then going over some actual PR and media strategies. How are you going to make sure people are actually going to want to talk about you? How are they're going to feature you? And how can you make it as easy as possible for them to do so? So that's kind of where we're going with this today. Just super quickly, Allison already kind of gave you a little introduction of me, but I'm the founder of Quotable Media Co. I've been running this for almost 13 years now. I also host a podcast called the Quotable Podcast. It's called Quotable, a female entrepreneur podcast. And we produce Quotable Magazine. And I did open the Founders Hub, which is a co-working space in downtown Boston for female founders. And I host coffee meetups and things like that, different little events for female founders of Boston. And yeah, my day-to-day is Quotable Media Co., where we're a PR agency and we work with other brands to promote them in the media and other ways. So that is me and why I'm doing this, how I know what I'm talking about. I've worked with a lot of different brands of all kinds over the years. So why does it matter? Why do we need to do this? Because I know a lot of times it's like, well, I'm going to do this thing because I love doing this thing, right? Or like, I love this product. I want to make this product. But ultimately you want to be getting it in front of other people. You want other people to be buying the product or being able to take part in the thing. That's really where it comes from, is let's get this in the hands of other people, right? Because I know they need it. But sometimes we get caught up in, I just want to make this thing because I love this thing, or I want to sell this thing because I love making the thing, right? But When it comes down to it, we really need to make sure it's getting in front of enough people that you can do this for the long term. You can have the most amazing product in the world, and if not enough people know about it, it really won't matter. What you need in order to grow, in order to get people to keep buying from you, even if they've bought from you once, is visibility. That's going to help people come in, help people remember you, help people want to keep buying from you. And yeah, great products don't just sell themselves, as much as sometimes it seems like that. Sometimes you come across maybe there might be a fluke once in a while where you're like, oh, this thing just, blew up overnight. Like that's not how life usually works. That's not how brands usually take off. It takes time, and it's most importantly, people have to see you in order to buy. And also people need to see you over and over again because I mean, we've all heard that, right? You have to see something so many times before you're going to take action on it, especially with something like a retail brand where it's a product that may or may not be the thing that somebody needs right now. It might not be something somebody feels that they can purchase right now, but they love it. And maybe they've been following you on social media for years. And then, at one point they're finally going to have a reason to buy. I feel like we've all seen that happen. And that's really the power of staying top of mind until somebody's ready to buy and then being there and ready for them. And so, yeah, you're going to get more sales. You're going to have easier sales. You might not have to actually feel like you're selling as much. People will kind of just be ready to buy. If you want to raise your prices, and that kind of depends in a retail space, but sometimes people are like, now I can actually charge more for my thing. You can have build a following or a community of people who are going to be ready to buy when you do have a new product, or who are going to be there ready to share you with their friends and say, hey, you really need to buy this thing, or you really need to check out this shop, or you really need to know about this maker. And that, as we also all know, is so invaluable. None of these things happen by accident usually. So yeah, becoming known as an expert in your space, in your industry, that can be really, really helpful. Getting the recognition you deserve. Let's be honest. Sometimes it feels nice to just get some recognition for the hard work you're putting in. That's totally valid reason for wanting more visibility as well. And you can inspire and encourage others. Sometimes my favorite part, I mean, one of the reasons I love to make the magazine that we make is because people are just like, now that I see that person has done that thing, I feel like I can do the next thing that I was thinking of doing. Or, sometimes you're putting yourself out there, not even just to sell your own brand, but because we all need to see other people doing incredible things sometimes. And I think that's a really worthy reason to want to expand upon your own visibility as well. So the first thing that I want to touch on today really and dive into is figuring out your messaging. What is your differentiation? This is the most important step. It doesn't matter how well you pitch yourself to the media. It doesn't matter what you even are offering. If you can't package it up in a way that people know exactly why they should care. So we want to think about what your messaging is. And sorry, I'm moving around my little camera piece so I can actually see the page. But yeah, we want to create messaging that sticks. So this, I really think, is the most important part. It is something that people overlook more than they should. We really need to clarify what sets you apart. That's ultimately what it is. Maybe you've done this. Maybe you have some kind of business plan that you wrote out where you did have to write all of this down. I find that 9 times out of 10, people don't really have this written down in a very clear, concise, repeatable way where they can go and say, here's what I am. Here's who I am. You could think about this almost even as maybe you have an elevator pitch, like a 1 or 2 sentence elevator pitch that you use when you tell people about what you're doing. But a lot of people don't have this in a really, really clear, concise way. So we want to think about, it's not just what you do. It's not just what your product is, but it's what makes you different. Because from a media perspective, and when we're working on your visibility plan, it's what makes you different that is going to make you desirable for somebody to talk about you, to write about you, to want to interview you. It's what makes you actually stand out and sets you apart and makes you memorable in that way too. So you want to think about what makes you different from maybe another brand that technically sells a similar product, right? Or offers a similar thing. And what do you really want to be known for? Like, is there a piece of your brand, of what you do, of why you do it, that is really what you want to be known for? Is there a thing? Is it maybe a certain product within your line or a certain thing you sell that you really want to be known for? Or is it a way of being? But there could be something where you're like, I want people to describe me this way. Like if somebody says like to their best friend, I went here and interacted with this brand last week and XYZ. Like, here's what stuck with them about it. Here's what they're going to tell their friend about you. What would you want that to be? So, okay, that's kind of also the next bullet I had on here of how do you want someone to actually describe you in one sentence? Because again, when we're describing ourselves to someone, sometimes we go on, and there can be a lot more to it and it's hard to be concise. But it's really what you have to think about is how would somebody who just met you describe you? Because they're only going to remember the things that really stand out, right? And you can also think about what you have coming up. Is there something you want people to really think like, oh, they're the ones who, I don't know, host an event every summer that you really must go to. Like it could be that there's like a thing that you want people to keep in mind in terms of an action to take or something to do. Thinking about what is your mission? What are the main values? You know, there might be a million other soap companies, but there's some reason people are buying yours, and it has to do with the values that you have, you know, behind your brand. It could be that you have a really like some kind of background story, and I bet most of you do, most of us do, have some kind of story of why we're doing this and what makes our situation unique, what makes our perspective unique. What is our real why behind that? But I think you have to go a little bit deeper. I know that's almost like an overused question or phrase, I feel like. But yeah, thinking about trying to answer some of these questions. And I have a little exercise that goes into this a little bit more too, that we can get to at the end if we have time, or otherwise I'll share it with you. But yeah, thinking about these words like, are you the first? Are you the only? Are you the best? Are you different? Are you local? Or is there something to do with your mission? Are you luxe? Are you accessible? Are you exclusive? There's no right or wrong answer, but these are the kinds of words that will stand out in your messaging. Or it could be something really around your story. Can you use your story in there? So I would think about which of these words feel like they make sense to you. There could be others as well. This isn't a totally exhaustive list, but also you want to be really honest with this. You can't say you're the first if you're not sure you're actually the first one doing this. And it's not that you're the first, you know, the first company ever focusing on sustainable fashion, but maybe you're the first one doing it in this exact way. There can be, you know, qualifiers after this. The first one doing this in your area or in this exact way or with these exact, you know, things, whatever that is. But obviously don't use these if they're not true. But if there are any of those that resonate with you, which I bet there are, including those in your messaging can be really powerful. And then ultimately you want to think about what can you speak on differently than anyone else when it comes to your industry. So you as the founder, it's so important to be able to put yourself out there too. And I know sometimes we shy away from that. I would challenge you all to think about this, not just in terms of your brand, but also you as the founder, and to think about your visibility as a way, as including you as the founder, you as like, you're the spokesperson, you are the personality behind this brand. So I really do want you to keep an open mind today about thinking about this in terms of you, not just your product, not just your brand. And there is something that you could speak about differently than anyone else, even if they have technically a business that's like very similar or even exactly the same. So that's what you need to think about. If there was a local TV news station coming down your street today and they wanted to talk to a local, you know, a local business, why would they pick you over the person who maybe has a similar shop right down the street? Like, what is that difference? And there is something. You just have to make sure that you can explain what it is. So that's what you want to be able to tell. When you're going to pitch yourself to the media, you need to be able to explain why they would talk to you rather than someone else, essentially. Not that it's a competition, but like ultimately that's what they need to be able to be imagining is like, okay, why is she going to be the most interesting for us right now or the most helpful for us, whatever that is. And then I have a little tip on here too that I just think everybody should always do. I did this actually just like last week with this My Visibility Collective, which is a group that I run with other female founders. And your ChatGPT knows you so well just from all the things you've done with it probably before. Like you like we didn't even literally add anything, but you can like add your bio or some kind of history, but just literally ask ChatGPT what makes you so exceptional or what makes your brand so exceptional and see what it says. And it's probably going to help provide you with some things that you can use in your messaging. And also, I just think you should read yourself whatever it tells you every day for a week and absorb that, because part of what I find people struggle with when it comes to visibility and putting themselves out there, it's not the act of doing the things, right? I can tell you do this, do that, do the other thing. It's really a lot of mindset of like, who am I to be out there? Who am I to be the one putting myself out there, to be telling the news they should talk to me, to say that I should be in an interview, to say that I should be on a podcast? Like we have to remind ourselves sometimes, especially at the beginning, why we are so exceptional, what we have to offer, why that's so important. And this will make you actually see that. Like reading back, I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, that is pretty cool. I am pretty cool. And like other people should hear about these things. But like sometimes we need that. Like it just can be helpful, I think. So I challenge you all to do that this week if you can. And then quickly, I want to go over how we package some of this up. So one of the things I want you all to be able to walk away with today is a media kit. Not that you're going to complete it today, but we have a template for you. So I'm going to go over that pretty quickly because it is something you can spend time creating after this. But I want you to have a sense of what it looks like and why and how, because this is just one tool that can be really helpful in your visibility plan. It will make you look professional and polished, and it makes it easy for anybody that you're reaching out to say yes, because it is professional and has all the information they might need to know about you, essentially. So a media kit is basically a document. It can be one PDF, one big document. I also say here that what I recommend is to put it somewhere that's easily accessible for other people if you can share a link. So either putting it, mostly I would recommend in a Google Drive, like a Google folder or Dropbox or whatever that is that other people can have access to. Also though, if sometimes it makes sense to put it right on your website, usually maybe in like a page that's maybe, it doesn't need to be like a page that's showing up on your menu page, but a page that you could link to, even if it's like what do they call that? Like a silent link or a secret link or something, like it's linked on your website. So you can provide the link to people, even if it's not going to show up all the time, on like your main website, but somewhere that if you change things, they'll be reflected. You don't want to necessarily only send people a PDF and then, something might change by next year and somebody would still have access to the old PDF. So that's why I like to have them living online. But what this is it's all the information that gives the background of you and your brand. So a brand overview, this is just like a little paragraph that could explain your history, the overview of your brand. It can have your mission, your vision if you want to, some of that, like what actually is this? And then a bio of you as the founder, high-res headshot of you as the founder. It can have your product descriptions. Yeah, pretty much you all have products. Sometimes like in some instances, it would be a service, outline, photos of your products. If you have like price sheets, things like that, any of like the information about your products should be in there. Also, I don't have this on here, but I usually include like a fact sheet that just has some of the basic facts that will explain, kind of those just quick looks at the business. You might have like, if you have a brick and mortar, what's the actual address? What are the actual hours? What's the phone number? Things like that people might include at the bottom of an article about you. And you just want them to have all of that. I do have on here contact info. So that would also have pretty much all of that. And then any additional imagery and logos, if you have branding images, again, we already said the product photos, but if there's any other like maybe it's images of your store or other things like that that people might want to include. So you package all of that up, put that all into a Canva doc. Really, that's what we usually use, and that's what I have a template for you here today. But you can use any program for that. But then save it as a PDF and also save each component in a folder. And actually, let me see if this will quickly load and show you the sample, or if that's going to make things more difficult. This is what I'm going to provide you all with. If it loads, we can look at it quickly. This is I kept this pretty simple. This is for my company, just as an example. And you can have a little fun with this. Like you can change, the fonts and the colors, make it match your branding. And you could put like an image on the front page if you wanted to. But basically, you could swap out any of this information, but this is how it looks. So this is kind of like the background or page text here. Again, you can change the color of this bar, or you could do whatever you want from a design standpoint. You can make it look as pretty as you want, nothing too crazy. We want it to, we want the facts just to speak for themselves, but you can add some images down here. If there's extra room on the page, add your headshot on the bio page. Yeah, we have a little fact sheet page here. A little at a glance talking points. You can add in basically whatever you think is helpful or informational for someone to find out about your brand. You don't want it to feel too salesy. Like it's not like we want to say like, oh, we have a sale coming up next week or anything like that. But again, I did say like, since your products, you want to have the product, you want to have your price sheet, you want to have the information about your main, at least your top sellers or key products, things like that. So this is my kind of example of that again, with my company being a service-based business, is just like services here, but you might have information about your products and not have room for a picture. That's fine. And then have imagery here and make these a clickable link that you can then, and see it says click to download, make the images a clickable link in your PDF, and then have those all saved in a Google Drive folder, again, that anybody could have access to, so that they can actually just download a high-res print-ready version of those whenever they want to. So the key here is to make this everything as easy as possible, and to require as little back and forth as possible. So when you pitch media, or you pitch for a collaboration, or you want to send someone information about your brand for whatever that reason is, they can just see everything they need. They have access to everything they need. If you're going to speak on a podcast, they don't have to come back to you to ask for your headshot for the promotional materials. If you're going to be participating in an event, they don't need to come back to ask for, oh, what are the social media handles I should be including? Like everything that they would need to help promote you in any way, or to include you in an article, to include you on anything, is all in here, so that you don't need to do any back and forth. That's the idea here. So if you have something related to your brand that's not listed here too, like, yes, include it. Like there might be more. But we want to make it as simple as possible for anybody to grab updated current information when they can. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is a podcast one pager, because this is a little bit different. And I am challenging all of you to pitch yourself to speak on a podcast, because it is such a great way to start telling your story, such a great way to get in front of very targeted, specific audiences, and such a great way to just begin your visibility journey if you haven't really put yourself out there that much yet, because there's a podcast for everything. And there is a podcast you can get on. Like there are options that will be perfect for you. And I just feel like it's a great place to start. Sometimes it can be daunting to pitch your local TV news station, or it can take a really long time for a magazine article to come out. You could, be interviewed tomorrow for a magazine article and it's not coming out until September, because they work really far in advance. Podcasts are just a great place to start, and you all have a story that you could be telling on a podcast. So I thought I think I have a sample on the next page, but this is just basically a mini version of your media kit. Essentially, you don't need all the same information. All you need is a very short version of your bio so they can see exactly like who you are, what you'd be talking about, and um, a high quality headshot because they honestly need to see that you do have something that they can use in the promo of the episode. That's like one thing people do want to make sure you have. And then a couple of talking points of what exactly you would speak on a podcast. And then if you have any examples, if you've like, once you've been on a few, putting a couple of examples on that sheet is really helpful too, just so they can see that you've done this before. And then same thing, design it right in Canva, save as a PDF, save it in a Google Drive folder and or on your website. But then also you're going to add this as an attachment in your email when you pitch a podcast. You can put it right in there so they don't have to click anywhere else. I usually even actually, I know I said I put on here save as PDF. I actually usually download that as an image because it's one page. You have that as an image right in your, it could be a PDF too. That's not like make or break, but I like to have it right as an image inside the email itself because they just see it. What they don't need to even do anything to try. They're just going to see that. And it's going to make you look professional. It's going to make you catch their eye. Here's my example. Okay. I also linked to the thing just in case this came up kind of small, but I think it's big enough. I'm not going to bother clicking the link. But again, this is an editable template that you can base off of, and I'm going to give to you. I feel like it's silly that my examples are all me. It's a little egotistical. I was just like, I don't know if it's appropriate to share like an actual client or something. So my assistant was like, why don't we just share yours? Now it seems funny, but basically it has your name, it has your title, the exact title you would want people to use, because you'd be surprised how much people end up like ready to interview and then you're like, I'm like, wait, what is your actual title? And like they haven't ever put it somewhere. And you can put more information about you. Sometimes I'll just put something like a really informative and memorable guest for your show or something. Sometimes I'll literally put that as like a little phrase down here. If there's not, necessarily other kind of titles to include, or you can just have your actual title for your job title. But yeah, mini version of the bio. The one thing I mentioned about the bio itself is obviously have like, it's more about your professional bio than like, where you grew up and all of your background. But I like to include like at least a little detail at the end that's a little bit more conversational. Like if you have a interesting or unique hobby, or there's something kind of just interesting. Like I'm trying to think of an example. It's usually an interesting or unique hobby. I know I actually don't have that on mine right here, but for clients, I usually do something that somebody would just be like, oh, that's kind of like an interesting thing you could picture yourself chatting about with somebody right before you start recording an interview, like something that will actually catch someone's eye. Like one of my clients right now is she was like a all-star basketball player in college and was like brought in like Hall of Fame thing. And like we put that at the end. Like it's just like that's something where you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. And like you might connect with someone on a kind of more personal level outside of like work with a little tidbit like that. So if you have something interesting there, like she loves to do flower arranging or, surf at the beach in the summer, like something like that someone might just be like, oh, she sounds kind of like a cool person, because you just want to come across as someone people would want to talk to. But yeah, then a list of topics. This is like a bit much. Honestly, you don't need this many bullets. It should be like 3 to 5 bullets of talking points. Mine, we kind of have like these sub bullets in it, but really it should look simple. You can update that if your topics change over time. Again, this is why you want this to live somewhere online as well. You could even have a couple of different versions of this. If you have a couple kind of different like places you want to focus on when it comes to podcasts, like you want to maybe have some podcasts that are really going to focus on business, some that really focus on, I don't know, product or lifestyle or things like that. Like you could have different versions with different talking points to make it really make sense to the different places you're pitching. And then these are some examples of other ones I've been on that really should link directly to an episode so people can hear it. But at least they see like, oh yeah, she's been on other podcasts. She knows what she's doing. So these are 2 documents that I want you each to be making this week if you can, because I think it's going to be really useful for you to have. And we can go over that more later, but I want to think about how you're actually going to use these things. So we're going to make a visibility plan. I know I said I'm going to force you all to do a podcast, but theoretically you can do whatever you want. It does not have to be focused on media even. It does not, your plan might be all podcasts. You might be like, I want to basically go on a podcast tour and just speak on 20 podcasts this year. That's how I really want to get myself out there. That's great. You could say, I want to be on a couple podcasts. I want to be in a couple traditional media outlets, maybe some magazines or on, my local news channel. I want to be seen at events. I want to be seen, doing some cross collaborations with other similar brands on Instagram. These are all ways that you're going to be boosting your visibility, getting in front of new eyeballs. And these all count. And I actually have a next slide, I think, that goes into that a little bit more. But think about which ones feel good to you. I don't want you to like actually force yourself to do something that doesn't feel good to you right now, because people really can. I think your energy really does matter, and people can tell if something feels authentic to you, if something feels like you're having fun with it and like you really want to make this happen or not. Um, and it just doesn't work as well if it's something that you really aren't fully getting behind. So I try not to force people to do things that don't feel the best for them, unless it's like a really good opportunity. And I'm like, no, we got to figure out how to get you to feel good about getting behind this. But yeah, thinking about what you want to use your owned channels count. I wouldn't say that can be your whole plan, because that's basically just marketing that you're already probably doing on your owned marketing channels, but that should be part of it. And earned means like if you're pitching yourself to a media opportunity, a media outlet, in person, that's like showing up at an actual event, going to things on behalf of, yourself, or having a table set up at an event and having like a booth. It could be showing up at networking events and just connecting with other people who might be good partners or good, um, people to collaborate with, or potential customers. So all of these ways that you're going to be getting your brand out there. But also keep in mind what you want to be known for, and how do these things kind of all play in to that ultimate goal of being known for the thing that you want to be known for. And then think about how you're going to use these things each month. How are you going to make sure that you're sticking to the plan? So, whether that's we'll go into the plan more. So I actually don't want to even go there right now, but thinking about consistently putting yourself out there. So doing things that are going to be sustainable, not that you have to be doing it all the time. I'm not saying you have to pitch a podcast every week, but repetition builds recognition. It's not that you can put yourself out there one time and be seen in one thing and think that's going to be moving the needle. If you're going to be telling your story, let's think about how you can be seen telling your story at least once per quarter, right? How can we get you out there over and over talking about the same things? That's where people are going to have success. But also, it's okay if you're going to be on a podcast or you're going to be on the news. That can also mean, how else are you going to share that on your personal social media? How else or your own social media? How are you going to share that in your email, to your email list? How are you going to make sure that there's consistency on your website where people are going to come and see that and want to take a next step with you, want to get to know your brand more? So it's more about repetition of those, like sharing all of the things that you do receive or that you are seen for, over and over as well, if that makes any sense. Again, we can go into that a little bit more. But keeping in mind that it's not just about seeing you, it is about taking that next step. You want this to be probably part of your marketing and sales process. So how can you use the things that have come out to boost your other marketing material? How can you use the interviews that come out to actually encourage people? Like, what is that call to action? Not that you can necessarily mention in an article like, oh, and I have a sale next week, but how can you make sure they're going to come to your website maybe and sign up for your email list after seeing you on an interview? Or how can you make sure that they're going to, maybe see you on the news and then find you on social media and follow you there, so that then you will stay connected and you can draw them more into your community, into your space. And then when you do have a sale next week, they will see it, because they've actually opted in and they've become familiar with you. And then I kind of already touched on this, but I want you to highlight your products, but also you as the founder. I just think it's a huge missed opportunity if founders don't um, allow the spotlight to be on them a little bit more, because that's really where people focus. That's where people connect, is with the person behind the brand more than the actual products usually. And so you're going to have a lot more opportunity there to put yourself out there, a lot more opportunity for media opportunities, visibility opportunities if you're putting yourself out there, and also prospective customers, clients, people, partners, they're all going to connect more with you than the product. So thinking about that. So when we're thinking about what you want to use, what you want to do, here are some of the main kind of platforms that we're thinking about. And again, you could pick one. I think you should probably pick a few. You do not need to pick all of them, but usually, when we talk about PR, which is my favorite, we're talking about the traditional media, pretty much, right? Traditional media, the podcasts. I mean, really, it's all of it. But people are usually thinking about like, oh, I want to be in a magazine, or I want to be in the newspaper. That's the traditional media. I think you all should try for at least something there this year if you haven't before. Podcasts, I think you already know where I stand on that. Speaking engagements, again, that's going to focus more on you as the founder, your expertise, maybe your story. That can be a great way to get yourself out there more. That could even be something like this, like hosting a workshop. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to think of yourself as like speaking like on stage in front of 500 people. Anytime that you're getting in front of people and helping share your story, like that's something, right? Like even just me doing this workshop today, I shared about it on my social media. Up Next shared about it. The Retail Playground shared it. Like that really did. A lot of people saw that I'm speaking on this topic today. And even that is part of your visibility plan. That is part of it. Awards, that could be, again, that could be for your product. That could be for yourself. That could be you, best of, best lipsticks for spring, or that's not really an award. I guess that would be more like a list, but something like that. Or it could be like you being named like 40 under 40, or, top entrepreneurs to know, or something like that. That can be huge, obviously. These are things you can often submit yourself for, or have somebody submit you for. Cross promotion, that could be like another brand that that has maybe a similar audience to you, or would make sense in terms of crossover to audience, and asking them to partner with you in some way. Like maybe they share about you in their email list and you're going to share about them in your email list, just to get in front of those new eyeballs. And again, making sure you have some kind of call to action, some way for them to then get stuck in your ecosystem after that. So you are getting those eyes. Again, it doesn't always have to be speaking on a stage in front of 500 people. You could have 10 people from a brand, or, come over to you from another email list. And those could end up being your best customers ever, right? Or the people who are going to share you with, somebody who becomes your best customer ever. You got to think about it that way. So influencers, that can be, most often we think about that in terms of like social media influencers. That's not necessarily the only kind of influencers. That could be actual people who who influence other people and like talk you up somewhere. But I do think you all should think about influencers with your products. Social media, again, this is your owned marketing channels, but that can't be your only thing. I'm not gonna say just go to your social media, because like you're probably already doing that. I want you to think bigger, but I do want you to think about how your social media fits into all of this. Again, in terms of keeping it consistent, in terms of using that to amplify anything else that you are being featured in. And also keeping in mind that people will look at your social media when you are like trying for any of these other things. So if you go to like pitch yourself to be speaking on a panel, or to be on a podcast, they're going to look at your social media. So just keeping in mind that is part of your visibility plan, and you should be posting about and talking about similar topics that you want to be known for. So that's what I really want you to think about it in terms of that. If like, if we're saying, what am I going to be known for? That should be super clear on your social media before you're going to pitch any other opportunities so that they see like, oh yeah, she really is all about this thing. And then
Alessandra, I hate to cut anything short, but I just wanted to let you know we have about 10 minutes to go and there's so much amazing information here. So if we want to save any time for questions, just a
I
heads
do
up.
want to say time for questions. So yeah, events, you get the point of events. Let's move on. I have a super quick template. Again, this is not something we're going through right now. I just wanted you to see this here because this is something we're sharing with you, but it's just a way to break down your monthly action items. So once you pick which of those things you want to focus on, you can like print this out 3 times or make a couple copies of this and map out your actions for the next 3 months. That's what I would recommend, because some things you have to work on in advance. And I have a whole little like information on how to use this sheet, which is in the download that you guys are going to get. So we're not going to go over it right now. I mean, we can if that's what the questions end up being about, but I have like, this is like one more thing I want to go over before we go into questions. And this is the actual, when you're going to reach out to media or when you're going to reach out for any of these opportunities, how are we going to do it? One thing that I wanted to make sure to really touch on with you guys is that if you have a product, I want to make sure you have a great affiliate program. And when you pitch media with a product, they want to be able to include affiliate links. So you probably already have something you use. You don't need to be part of all of them. I would recommend that you look into the options. Make sure you're at least set up on at least one major affiliate platform for that purpose, because media wants to be able to track their links and make some money for their publication if somebody reads and clicks there. So I want you to think about what media outlets and what influencers you could send some product to. That is the first and easiest way that I want you to think about getting featured in these media opportunities. I know there's a cost associated with that. You don't want to necessarily give away a ton of product, but this could literally be one, you could say, I'm going to reach out to one media outlet and one influencer a month or even a quarter. Again, we can start wherever you want to start, but offer them something and tell them that you want to offer them a sample in hopes that they will share about it if they find it interesting or unique, or that they like it, and then offer to actually send it to them with all of your information and all of the details that we already put together, and they will share about it if they like it. And that's one thing that I want you guys to really all think about for the easiest way to get your product featured in the media. And again, I'm saying media and like Instagram influencers, TikTok influencers, whatever that is, if there's a fit there, because I think we don't want to overlook that, even though I love a traditional media opportunity. But yeah, you want to reach out, make a connection, offer them why this is a great thing for them. It's not about you. You want to think about why this is a good story for them, why it's a great product for them, why it makes sense for their readers or their followers, their audience, and always keep that as the reason that you're reaching out. And again, keep it really, really simple for them and for you. And keeping in mind that you can always reach out later. It might not be a good fit now. If they don't respond, don't cross them off the list. That's always my tip when it comes to reaching out to anybody for pitching yourself. No response or even a no just means not right now. It doesn't mean they're never going to be interested or have space for this. But you want to keep them on your list so you can reach out to them the next time. I want you guys to just take a screenshot of this because we don't have time to do it right now, but this was like the one thing I wanted to just tell you could screenshot and do later if you want to go deeper on the messaging piece. And then this was the last thing I had, so we can go into some questions. But just take a screenshot real quick because this is something you can do later to really get clear on that messaging and differentiation. And then I'm pretty sure, yeah. Questions? Okay. Should I go through the, and I can spend more time also on this page if we want to, but should I go through the questions? Does somebody want to read some of those to me out loud. What's the
I don't
best?
think we have too many in the chat, but I would encourage people to unmute or drop something in right now. We just received one. Kristen, if you want to give that a read.
Okay, so Smitha just asked for a home linen brand like hers, where the product is tactile and experience driven, what's the best way to make it media friendly? How do you suggest bringing something like the feel of natural fabrics or the rich colors in our prints into a PR pitch? Context, I use block printing for my textiles.
So I think photos are going to be your best friend. I think you should do get as great photos as possible so people can really see that, at least, even if you can like kind of zoom in on like the texture and give people a sense of what that feels like. But yeah, I think photo, even video, could be really helpful so they really get a sense of what that feels like. I think that the more you can describe it, the better too. I also would challenge you to try to find some media who could come in person and touch it, or like, oh, well, if you have a space or like the ability to get it in front of people in real life, right? Also, it doesn't have to be like Vogue. It could be a local publication where you could invite in some media to actually see it. You could host a little event, even if you don't have a physical space. You could host an event somewhere else and bring some of your products and invite media to come there to see it and be a part of it. I think I have that on here as like, yeah, you can invite media in for an experience or host a media preview event. But yeah, I think as much as you can kind of explain with pictures, with testimonials or some kind of like quotes from other people who have experienced it, because sometimes it's stronger to hear it from someone else too. That's where I would start with that. We can talk more too, though. Yeah, Boston Home. I think if there's a way too that you can get like samples, like I don't know if you can make smaller pieces that you could send through the mail for people to actually get to touch and feel and try. If that's possible, I think that that could be also a worthwhile thing to do. But yeah, there's a lot you can do with photos these days.
Alessandra, what would you suggest? There are so many podcasts out there. And I'm sure, everyone could relate to a whole slew of them. How would you suggest kind of homing in on the right ones to reach out to getting started, especially if it's something you haven't done before? There might be some nerves involved, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no right or wrong one. I think that if you are just getting started, a small one can be good. If there's a local one, that can feel like a great place because you have some connection. Like even just if there's no reason that it matters to be local for a podcast usually, except for there are some podcasts where they feature local business owners, things like that. But yeah, start with something that feels smaller. They might have, again, the audiences of a podcast. It's hard to know, but even one that looks small might have the most targeted, 20 people listening to that episode, that could be huge for you. Whereas one that looks huge could really still only have 20 people listening that makes sense for you, or like, are going to move the needle for your business. So I think thinking about it that way, and just really, again, for me, it's like, which it's sort of about the vibe. Like, who do you feel like you could really connect with as far as the host goes? Because the most important thing is to have a conversation that feels really good and authentic and allows you to open up and like really talk in a way that's going to connect with the listeners. So I'd rather start with one that either you listen to a lot, or like when you're doing your research, you just feel like you kind of connect with them in the way that they um, conduct their interviews. Listen to a few episodes for sure if it's something you haven't listened to before. And I really think you can get a sense of like who you feel like you'd connect with, and that's going to be the most powerful, especially if you're just getting started, because you want to feel comfortable and confident in that conversation.
No, that's great. We have one other question kind of linked to that. For people who don't know a lot about the behind the scenes, what are ways that a podcast host will ask you to prepare? Do they send you questions beforehand, or is it more organic during the flow of conversation?
Oh, so that also very much depends. So some
Okay.
will send you set questions and some will not. Like you'll not hear anything until the day of the recording. I would say do not be shy to reach out to ask if they what they are planning to prepare. If they say they're going to do questions and they still haven't sent them to you a couple days in advance, don't be shy to reach back out and ask. What we will do though, sometimes if they either say they don't prepare questions or you just haven't heard anything about them, I also don't be shy to put together some sample questions or at least bullets of like, here are some of the things that I think would be the most, but you already probably you pitched them something, so you know what the gist of the conversation would be based on your pitch, but you can flesh that out a little bit more with some more bullet points or sample questions and say, here's kind of how I'm seeing the conversation being able to be really powerful. Let me know if you think this like resonates with you or if you have any other ideas or suggestions. That's what we do on behalf of clients. If we don't hear anything specific from them and we want to be able to tell our client, like, here's what you can sort of prepare. Because sometimes, podcast hosts, they're just like us. They're just busy business owners too, usually, unless they're like the professional podcast hosts where that is their main job. Like usually it's not their main job and they might just not get to it in advance, but they'll usually appreciate any build out or they might get back to you in that instance and say, that's really not the way I run it or something like that. And then they'll provide you more information there too. But a lot of times it is just conversation. And in that case too, like I still think having your bullets written out, having your talking points in mind, even if you don't know what the questions are going to be, that helps you feel more prepared. And usually they are going to somehow relate to like the things that are going to come up in conversation. Cause again, you pitched them based on you. So they're going to ask you things that like have to do with you and like the things you want to talk about usually.
How long is a podcast generally? Is it a half hour or an hour?
Usually you'll block out an hour. They'll send like an hour for the calendar invite, but they are, I would say, usually people try to record about 30 to 45 minutes. Sometimes they will go for the whole hour, but I find most of them tend to try to actually have the recording, the actual conversation to last 30 to 45 minutes. And again, that goes really fast, as you saw here today. I'm like, how can I have already like talked for an hour? There's so much more. And I have the same problem when I host my podcast. I'm like, how do we fit it all into one hour at the most? So yeah, that's where talking points can be really, really helpful.
I have a quick question, and I had put this in the playground, but I'm still.
Concisely enough that you can answer enough to make it a good conversation, but also be able to say all the things that you want to say.
Wait, Bonnie, was that you? Feel free to speak up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So my question is, what do you recommend if you reach out to someone, for me, a spa owner, a retail store, they expressed interest, you send them information, maybe you send them samples, you follow up, you don't hear back. I mean, you'd love to get a yes or no, but what do you recommend in terms of follow up?
So I think that you always need to follow up more than you think. You don't want to be obnoxious about it, of course. So you do need to like, have a little discernment there. But usually people are very busy and it's not like to be taken personally. That's my general feelings on follow-up. The more you might have to check in two, you might have to check in 3 times. Usually I try to keep it around 2, but like don't feel like, oh, I sent them it, now the ball's in their court, or even, oh, I already followed up, now the ball's in their court, because you're the one who kind of wants to make this happen. And for them, it's kind of might just be like another thing that like ends up on their stack of to-dos, but it's not like top priority, right? So I think that my trick with follow-up is try to offer something a little bit different or a little bit more in the follow-up. So it's not just like an email or a text or whatever that looks like. That's like, hey, what did you think about that? Try to either offer something a little bit more or ask another little question. Or even if it's like in that kind of instance, it might just be like, hey, I'm trying to lock in my partners for this quarter by next week's because I'm going to be sharing it on, whatever. You could kind of make this up, but like I'm going to be sending out like an email spotlighting all my partners and I really would love to have you guys be in there or something like that where you almost feel like you're offering them something, but it's giving them like a deadline. And so
That's
that kind
very good. I like that.
Yeah. And like with media, sometimes it's like, oh, here's like another little tidbit that like maybe wasn't in the initial pitch, but I think would be really interesting to you. Or, um, yeah, usually that's what it is, like another angle or another idea that you can kind of throw out there that might be even more appealing to them in this moment or something like that. Anything else about that?
I think we're unfortunately out of
Yeah.
time, but this has been absolutely wonderful. Alessandra, thank you. There's so much good information here. We will be sharing the recording, all of the attachments, and ways to connect and keep in touch with you. So anyone who is registered will receive that information and perhaps have some time to follow up with you personally.
Perfect. Oh, I think I had just I should have just ended on here. If anyone wants to screenshot ways to stay in touch. And if anybody wants to practice by pitching my podcast or my magazine, I just wanted to put that here too, because we do have ways to get featured there. And so that can be a great way to start. And if anybody's interested in the Visibility Collective, I'm happy to talk about that more too, if this is something you want to focus on.